Fight fans, welcome to the PBC Podcast, brought to you by Premier Boxing Champions with your host, Kenneth Bouhairie and Michael Rosenthal.
Welcome, everyone, to the PBC Podcast. I'm Kenneth Bouhairie.
And I'm Michael Rosenthal, editor of USA Today's Boxing Junkie.
Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in yet again. This week, we've got WBC Featherweight World Champion Gary Russell Jr. with us. Russell, of course, makes his long-awaited, anticipated return to the ring against undefeated top contender Mark Magsayo Saturday, January 22nd at the Borgata in Atlantic City, live on Showtime. Also joining us is unbeaten 122-pound contender Carlos Castro. Castro's got his own date coming up February 5th, a big fight versus two-division champion Luis Nery on the Thurman-Mario Barrios Fox Sports pay-per-view from Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. That's a fight I'm really looking forward to. It's a card I'm really looking forward to. Speaking of fights I'm looking forward to, in today's toe-to-toe segment, Mike and I will list the 5 fights we want to see in 2022. Plenty of good matchups in the PBC sphere, but we'll share our personal favorites. So let's jump right into the show. We just discussed our first guest. He is an undefeated 122-pound contender who will face the dangerous Luis Nery Saturday, February 5th on Fox Sports pay-per-view, Carlos Castro. Carlos, how has camp been for February 5th?
Camp has been good. It's been great, working on a lot of new stuff, working on our technique and just trying to better ourselves.
Now, who are you working with? Who's your current trainer? Because you made a switch recently, didn't you? Or
yeah. I made a switch recently. I moved to Manny Robles' camp.
Oh, okay.
Wow. And what's that been like for you?
Oh man, that's been great. I think it's been a major improvement on myself, on my self-confidence, and more importantly, on my physical aspects of my boxing career. He's taught me a lot, and he's helped me correct a lot of things that I thought I was doing right.
Now, are you getting good sparring over there too?
Oh man, yeah, we're getting great sparring. Putting in rounds. He has talented fighters as his own. And other fighters that are coming in and helping out. So we're getting great rounds in.
Now, give us your thoughts on Luis Nery, your opponent on February 5th.
Luis Nery, what can I say? A two-time world champion. I'm blessed for him and his team to give me the opportunity. And I think he's strong. He's physically strong. He's physically mentally prepared. I think he's gonna come strong because I think that loss that Figueroa gave them might have pumped them up. We're expecting the best Luis Nery we can get.
Yeah, I was going to ask whether you thought he'd be extra hungry after that disappointment. Sounds like you think he will be.
Yeah, I think he will be, and that's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm training for. I'm training for a hungrier and a better, improved Luis Nery.
What do you think happened in that fight for him in the end?
I just think he got caught. With all respect, he's shown a little bit of an indisciplinary during his career. So I just think he faced a hungry fighter that was coming to dethrone his crown.
So you've alluded to this already, but why is the Nery fight the right fight for you at this time?
I think it's the perfect time for me and the right fight. The reason is because I prepared myself so well during my whole career, and I've always wanted an opportunity like this. Luis Nery is a well-known fighter around the boxing world and around the world, and not a lot of people know Carlos Castro, and me getting this fight with Luis Nery and me defeating Luis Nery is going to get my name out there. It's going to get all the boxing people talking about me, and it's going to give me what I want, is the opportunity for a world title.
Yeah, we can't wait to see what happens. Now, a bit of your background. You were born in Mexico but raised in Phoenix. How did you discover boxing?
It was just a coincidence. A bakery shop across there was a house across the bakery shop where me and my dad used to go every night to get a bread and some coffee for my mom's, and there was just a gym across the street that they built behind the backyard, and my dad took me, and hey, my career started from there.
Oh, now Growing up, who were some of the your favorite fighters?
Growing up, I gotta say it was Oscar De La Hoya. I used to look up to Oscar De La Hoya, Julio Cesar Chavez, and as my career started going as a young fighter, I started looking up to Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah. Now, what about today? Do you have any fighters, currently active fighters, that you enjoy watching?
Today, active fighters, I gotta say, I really like watching Errol Spence. I like watching Terrence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, those type of fighters.
Yeah, great fighters.
Sounds like you're a fan of the sport in addition to a boxer.
No, yeah, I'm a fan of it. All the hard work that gets put into it makes me a fan of the other persons and the other fighters that do it as well.
Got it. So you had your first fight on PBC last August when you stopped Oscar Escandon. Before we get into that fight, can you tell us how you connected with Premier Boxing Champions?
Yeah, well, my contract with Top Rank have ended, and so we thought that contacting with Luis de Cuba was the right fit for me because PBC has all the 122 fighters right now, has all the best fighters, so that was the right move for us to make.
Got it. That Escandon fight was a roller coaster. He seemed to hurt you in the first round. What happened there?
Yeah, almost a 2-year layoff. New coach. I had just moved with Manny Robles, and prior to that fight, we had like 3 dates that got canceled on us. So no excuse. I just got overconfident that first round, and he tended to land a good shot, but I'm learning from my mistakes, and that won't happen again.
Well, you learned from your mistakes during the fight because you stopped him in the 10th round. Could you sense that you were wearing him down, or was it just a one-shot, thing that hurt him?
No. Like I said, on my camp with Manny, he's improved a lot. I've been mentally stronger and physically stronger. So he told me, hey, we're gonna take it round by round. Be calm, keep on working on him. And as soon as we feel that he's slowing down, he told me on the last round, you know what, go for it. You ain't got nothing else. Let's get it. Let's stop this dude. And that's what we did.
That was a great ending to a really good fight. Now, that fight was at 126 pounds. Will making 122 again be an issue for you?
No, not at all. This is they've offered me on 122. They say that you want to go back up to 126, and I said no. I feel, like I said, I feel physically good, physically ready. And 122 won't be a problem. We're going to make it that day, and we're going to be good. We're going to rehydrate and, give the fans a great fight.
Now, what about in the future? Do you plan on staying at 122, or would you consider going up to 26 again?
No, like I said, my goal is crown myself or get something at 122. But if that's not possible and a big opportunity comes at 126, I'm willing to take at 126. I feel strong. I feel bigger, so.
Got it. So you're 27 years old, 27-0. You're absolutely in your prime. Is there like a sense of urgency now? Like, just I really need to put my foot down on the gas pedal and really, really see what I can do.
No, yeah, of course. That's where this Luis Nery fight comes impact. We're like, okay, this guy's been there. This guy's done it. This is my fight. This is the time for me to prove myself, not the people around, but myself and my family, why I deserve to be in this position I am right now. No, I'm not getting any younger. I need to do it now, and this is the fight to do it.
Got it. So I know you don't want to look too far ahead, but assuming you win this fight, assuming things go well, are you targeting anybody in particular this year, or are you just kind of taking it a step at a time?
No, of course. Like I said, this Luis Nery fight is my test. This is everything to me. This is the fight that's gonna put my name out there, and winning this fight, everything goes as planned. I want the world champions at 122. I don't care who it is. If it's either Andrew, if it's either Fulton, whoever it is, I would like the opportunity for that.
Great. Final question. So we're going to ask you for a prediction on February 5th. How does it end?
I'm working hard. I'm tremendously focused. With all my preparation, the fans are gonna have to wait for that date, but it's gonna be an action-packed fight, and it is all gonna end as a victory for Carlos.
Awesome, Carlos. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. We know you're busy training. We hope to wish you good luck, and we hope to have you back.
No, thank you guys, man. Whenever you guys want me back, I'll be back. And it was a truly honor to talk to you guys today.
Saturday, February 5th. Superstar Keith Thurman is back.
Here comes Thurman.
And he's going toe-to-toe with former champion Mario Barrios. This will fly.
Putting it all on the line. What a fight!
Then get ready for the return of Leo Santa Cruz.
The time has come.
As he faces Keenan Carbajal. It will be a night to remember. Live on pay-per-view. Buy now on the Fox Sports app and watch on any screen you want.
It's time for Mike and I to go toe-to-toe. This week, we're listing the 5 fights we want to see in the PBC universe this year. Naturally, we'll go in ascending order. So, Mike, take it away.
Okay, not much to say to preface this other than this was fun because we just sit around and dream about fights we'd like to see. So here are 5 of them from me. Starting with number 5, Andy Ruiz Jr. versus Luis Ortiz. This is the first of 2 heavyweight fights for me. I really just want to see Ruiz back in action. That's the main thing for me. He looked pretty good against Chris Arreola last May, and I want to see how he's evolving under Eddie Reynoso and Canelo Alvarez's camp. And I think Ortiz would be the ideal opponent at this time for him. Ortiz had some problems with Charles Martin. His legs looked a little shaky, at times, but he did what he does in the end. He stopped Martin in the 6th round. The power is there. The power is not ever going anywhere. He's always going to have that. I think this is the perfect stepping stone toward a title for both guys. And for a fact that it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I also thought of Andy Ruiz versus Frank Sanchez, which would have been an intriguing matchup also. I just think Ruiz-Ortiz is just going to be a wilder fight. It's going to be really fun to watch that.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I feel like it's a fight that, it's been discussed quite a bit over the years, something people want to see. But I like the fight. You pointed out that Ortiz looks sort of vulnerable against Charles Martin a couple weeks ago, but that you also discussed the power. But aside from the power, you could see the skill as well that makes him so good. So I love that fight, and it's not like Ruiz didn't look vulnerable too in his last fight against Chris Arreola, where he was floored in the 2nd round. So and came back and Arreola gave a pretty good account of himself throughout that fight. But it's a really, really nice matchup. I love it. I love. I got some other heavyweight fights that I'm thinking about as well, so I won't share too much with respect to that, but I love that fight. Now, my number 5, actually, before I get into my number 5, I just want to point out that there's some other fights for me that didn't make the cut. I would love to see a combination of Michel Rivera, Jose Valenzuela, and Frank Martin at some point all get in the ring against each other, but they did not make the cut. My number 5 is Erickson Lubin versus Sebastian Fundora. Now, these are 2 top super welterweights who need a fight while Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano sort things out with respect to their rematch. And that a fight between Lubin and Fundora is just going to be explosive. Lubin's classic boxer puncher with slick defensive skills from the southpaw stance. Fundora also a southpaw, unbeaten with those tarantula-like dimensions. We know he loves to fight, but he showed some boxing skill in his last bout, outpointing Sergio Garcia. So, a fight like this, everything on the line, 2 guys who want to taste the world title shot. In Lubin's case, he had that shot a few years ago. He's climbed his way back. I mean, quite an impressive resume in his last 6 fights, what he's been able to do, and is itching for another chance. And Sebastian Fundora, who we can't wait to see in a world title fight too, if he could get past an Erickson Lubin. Good one.
Actually did not think of that fight, but I love that fight. Number 1, it would be a lot of fun to watch. Fundora is a really fun guy to watch, and Lubin is such a good all-around fighter. Yeah. But more important is that it's a really important fight for both guys. It's like a crossroads fight. I mean, I've been waiting I know a lot of people have been waiting for Fundora to really face a significant test. I mean, at least the next level test,
That's a big test.
And that's a big test for we're going to know exactly how good Fundora is. Right. And I think Lubin is sort of settled into a groove now, and he's really good. I didn't even thought of this fight before. I would probably lean toward picking Lubin, but it's a competitive fight. Absolutely love that fight.
Yeah, me too. That's why it's on the list. Let's move on to number 4. Should I go or do you want to?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, my number 4 is a battle between two undefeated 140-pound prospects, Richardson Hitchens versus Gary Antoine Russell. This is skill versus skill. Hitchens, orthodox fighter with the brilliant jab against the ultra-talented southpaw and Russell, two accomplished amateurs. I should add, in a battle like this, where two guys are highly skilled, I think often it comes down to who has more dog in them. I don't know who that would be in this fight, but I'd love to find out. I'd love to see this fight between these two sort of as a, natural next step toward a world title shot for the winner.
Yeah, you pitted two rising guys against each other, which is dangerous for both guys, which is kind of how it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
I love Russell. I just think he's the complete package. He knows how to box. He's aggressive. He tries to knock you out. Absolutely love this guy. But Hitchens can box. I guess we're going to find out how well Hitchens can box and how durable, how resilient he is, because he's gonna go to hell and back against Russell. I guarantee.
Exactly. It's a great fight.
Yeah, so that's a really good matchup too. I like it.
Who'd you got for your number 4?
Okay, so this was a fun one. We actually kind of just threw this out in conversation off the podcast, just sort of just reeling off names, and I said, that'd be a great fight. Naoya Inoue versus Stephen Fulton. It might be a stretch because Inoue fights at 118 and Fulton at 120.
You never know.
And Fulton fights at 122, but it's sure fun to think about. I still think a case can be made that Inoue is the best fighter on the planet. Sure. Find me a weakness in the guy. And Fulton is one of the fastest rising stars for a reason. He doesn't have like one punch knockout power like Inoue and a few other guys do, but he can beat you in so many different ways. He'll probably outbox you, but he's willing to outslug you if that's what it takes to win the fight. Brandon Figueroa pushed Fulton in November, as Figueroa would do against anybody, the way he fights. But I thought Fulton won a clear decision in that fight. I'm dying to see Inoue face a genuine test. I think Fulton might give him one.
I think Fulton is that test, and I think that's a super fight, the kind of fight that, we love now, but we'll love talking about 10 years from now. Other people, fans coming up will talk about 10 years from now. They'll hear about it. It's just a great style matchup, two highly skilled guys. And we'll see if, Inoue can carry his part at 122. I believe he can, but can he beat Stephen Fulton, who's a big, strong 122-pounder, and not to mention incredibly skilled, a pound-for-pounder in his own right. I mean, it's just a mouth-watering matchup. So I love that on your list. Who do you got for number 3?
Okay, so for me, number 3 is even more fun than the last one. And this is really just me dreaming, but there's no reason it couldn't happen, but it just probably won't right away. Errol Spence Jr. versus Jaron Boots Ennis. So there I said it. And why not? Ennis is ranked. I didn't even realize this before I started researching this, but Ennis is ranked in the top 3 by all 4 major sanctioning bodies. I'm guessing this fight won't take place this year because Ennis is still building his name, and I think that's the kind of guy that Spence is looking for right now. Is a guy who is already sort of an established star, but who knows? You just never know. I have mad respect for Spence, who I think is one of the best fighters in the world, pound for pound. But we need to see how great Ennis is sooner rather than later. And what better way to prove that than against arguably the top guy in the division? I think Ennis might have more God-given talent than any active fighter, which I've said before, but we need to see him fight an elite opponent to know for sure. I'm convinced that right now that he's ready to face anyone. If nothing else, I hope we see him against the top 2 or 3 guy before the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's interesting you mentioned that he's in the top 3 in those sanctioning bodies. So, well, I think that Errol's probably looking for the big fights in the division. He may at some point have to, if he chooses to stay in the division, may have to fight Boots Ennis. I also don't think he has a problem with that. I remember when somebody put them on FaceTime with one another, and Errol basically told him, like, I'm the shark. I'm the big dog. You're a pup. So, I don't know if you're ready to run with the big dog.
That's a badass pup.
Yes. Yeah. But in terms of, it's just unbelievable when you think about it. I mean, Errol Spence is no slouch in the skill department either. An accomplished Olympian, accomplished world champion, one of the, a top 5 pound for pounder, and Boots Boots looks like he has all the talent in the world as well. So yeah, absolutely, I'd love to see that fight anytime. I mean, probably one of the best fights you can make in boxing today.
I agree.
Now, my number 3 is Landi Lara versus Carlos Adames. Man, I honestly, I don't know who wins this fight at 160 pounds, and it's part of the reason why I need to see it. I think the winner is a great candidate to fight Jermall Charlo for the WBC belt or any of the other available belts at 160. Lara's been dominant for so long at 154, and we saw him move up to 160 last year and win one of the WBA belts with the knockout of Cornflake Lamanna. So it looks like he's going to be campaigning at 160, and Adames, who was campaigning at 154, we saw him go up to 160 last fall and beat Sergey Deverenchenko in what was a very, very impressive win. I mean, I think these are two guys in a division. Great crossroads fight. It's the kind of throwback battle that would invigorate hardcore fans. Lara looking to go out with a bang in terms of career. I'm sure he wants another big name under his belt, I should say. And Adames looking to establish himself as one of the world's best fighters too. And I'd love to see him have to go through someone like Lara in order to prove that.
Yeah, that's a tall order. That's a tough fight. You know, what's funny is I actually did think of Lara for this exercise. I wasn't sure who to match him up with. I don't know. I have a soft spot in my heart for veterans who stick around this long, who he's been at near the top for a long, long time. And I was hoping that he'd get another chance at a big fight. So I like this fight against Adames, who's coming off his own big victory. Like you said, this could be a springboard to a title shot for both of these guys. I mean, I do hope that Lara gets another shot. I think he's one of the best pure boxers of his generation. Adames is a rising guy, talented guy. He left no doubt about that against Derevinchenko. So I like this fight. I just hope the winner would then get a shot at a world title. Yeah,
one of the big names at 160 pounds for sure. Let's go to number 2. Is it my turn to roll or?
Go for it.
All right, my number 2 is it's a classic rivalry matchup. It's one I feel like we've talked about this fight forever. Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez. Now, Plant, I'm sure, is itching to get back to the top of the heap at 168. He probably isn't interested in any tune-ups. We saw what he could do at the highest level fighting Canelo Alvarez last November, and now it's time to see what David Benavidez can do against the elite at 168. Benavidez, of course, the unbeaten two-time world champion at 168. I think he's ready for a big fight, and this right here qualifies. And beyond that, I mean, would there be a better build-up to a fight than Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez in terms of trash talking, the back and forth? We saw what Plant did against the guy who's typically maybe mild-mannered isn't the right word, but Canelo Alvarez isn't a big trash talker, and we saw what happened there. Imagine this battle between Plant and Benavidez, two guys who can't stand each other. I mean, I'd pay to see the press conferences.
Yeah, another good one. Obviously, I didn't even need to say that. It's been building for a long time. I think it has to happen at some point anyway, right? I don't know if it'll happen this year or not, but why not? What better way for Plant to sort of reestablish himself as the guy or one of the top guys than with a victory over Benavidez. And while Benavidez is waiting for his title shot, that would be the ultimate springboard for him. So the lead up would be amazing. It would be fun, maybe a little nasty, but the fight would also be absolutely fascinating. That would be, I'm a huge fan of Benavidez. He's one of my favorite fighters, and I think he's also one of the best in the world. But that's a legitimate test for him. I mean, Plant showed against Canelo that he's a really good boxer. That's a tough fight for Benavidez. So I think it's a fascinating fight on top of everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Who you got for your number 2?
Okay, this fight would I just think this fight would be incredibly fun. Gervonta Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. Of course, there are many good lightweight bouts to be made involving George Kambosos, Teofimo Lopez, if he's still a lightweight, Devin Haney, Vasily Lomachenko, Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia. There's just so many good 135 pounders. I'll take any matchup of those guys, to be honest with you. Davis versus Garcia just seems particularly appealing to me. Two young rising guys, with both of them have one punch knockout power, and they got the huge number of social media followers. So talk about a buildup. The buzz for this fight would be just deafening, both because of its importance, because obviously enormous fight for the future of both guys, and then these just gigantic fan bases that they have. And in the end, I just think it'd be a lot of fun to watch. I mean, two knockout artists with that level of ability, it would just be so intense and just so much fun.
Yeah, and I mean, you bring up their fan bases. I mean, that's another fight I think could do 1 million pay-per-view buys. By the time it's all said and done, because of their fan bases and their trash talking ability, you name it. One punch power. Aside from that, I think they may be the two most athletic guys at 135 too. And it's the style matchup is just crazy. I mean, Garcia's like 5'10", several inches taller than Tank. Another tall mountain for him to climb. I love it. I mean, I feel like it's been built up for so long, and we had Steven Espinoza on a few weeks ago, and he mentioned that it was a fight that was discussed a year or two ago. I think a year ago, and I hope that they revisit that. All right, let's go to number one. I will kick this one off. My number one is a potential fight of the year, a battle with historic implications. Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz Jr. I mean, this is a battle between two former heavyweight champions who won another shot at glory. Wilder, of course, one of the hardest hitters ever at heavyweight, if not the hardest, and Ruiz, one of the most skilled big men today. And, he packs some power too. But beyond that, this is a huge event, huge event in boxing, period. And we know the kind of star power these guys bring. I love the buildup. I love the battle of the corners, Malik Scott for Deontay and Reynoso for Andy Ruiz. And I love the heart on these two guys. I mean, we've seen Andy Ruiz get up off the canvas and stop Anthony Joshua. We saw what Deontay Wilder did in his fights against Tyson Fury. And given the hearts on these two big men, I think this is going to be a monstrous, explosive fight of the year type battle.
Yeah, great storylines going into that fight. Wilder coming off, the loss to Fury in that just epic heavyweight fight, one of the best heavyweight fights we've seen in years. Ruiz, still coming back from his loss to Anthony Joshua with the new trainer, has a new approach to boxing, it seems. That's a really, really interesting matchup. It could be talk about springboards. If Andy Ruiz can do it to Wilder what he did to Joshua in the first fight, and then Ruiz is the guy. I mean, he's not a title holder, but he's right there. You have to fight Andy Ruiz if he wins that fight.
Absolutely.
And I think Wilder, if he knocks out Andy Ruiz, which Joshua couldn't do, which nobody's been able to do, I don't even think he has to reestablish himself. I mean, he was so good in that fight against Fury and to the end. But I mean, if he knocks out Andy Ruiz, boom, he's right back again. So important fight, really fun fight to watch. Like you said, could be a fight of the year. Love that fight.
Now, you said you had two heavyweight fights, so I assume your number one is a heavyweight fight as well.
I wanted to get Wilder in here because I just like watching Deontay Wilder fight so much. But I went for like a different. Went at it from a different angle, a fight that's been talked about for a long, long time. Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua.
I love that fight.
I don't care that these guys have lost. I don't care about titles, which don't mean much to me. We've talked for years about these two giants, these two huge punchers colliding in the ring. I would love to see it this year. Wilder is still among the top 3 heavyweights in the world, arguably number 2. Joshua is in the top 5. They both are still at their peaks right now. They're hungry. They're both hungry. And one of them almost certainly would get knocked out in this fight, which is what fans would pay to see. And the fans will pay for this fight. They could fill up a stadium in the UK, maybe here too. The fight would do well on pay-per-view, I think. This is just a can't miss, fun as it gets matchup that I think everybody in boxing would embrace.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you say that because Malik Scott, Wilder's trainer, said a few weeks ago, he's like, that's still the fight that he wants. He wants to see. And Malik, as we know, loves boxing, is a huge student of the game. So I think he's speaking as a fan, and he's also speaking as, someone who obviously would love to dig into some film study and dissect the battle between those two guys as he tries to figure out a way for his guy to win. It's just a a great fight between two of the best heavyweights of this era. And two guys who there's been, so much trash talking, so much bad blood, and between the two of them, that the buildup would be fantastic for that as well. But more importantly, the action. You really can't go wrong with a fight like that. I mean, I think that's another fight of the year candidate right there. It's like a common thing to say when discussing Deontay Wilder fights.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking that there's going to be so much talk going into that fight as to who's going to win that fight. There's going to be like major debates.
Yeah.
Because you can make cases for both guys. It's funny,
Right.
5 years ago, I might have picked Joshua. Now, I think after what we've seen in recent years, I think I would go the other way. I'd probably pick Wilder. It's interesting how things evolve in boxing.
Yeah.
But one thing that hasn't evolved is a great fight is a great fight, and this is a great matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. I mean, it'll be a great fight 3-4 years from now, probably. We can't wait to see any of these guys, all of these guys, I should say, return to the ring. Now, it is time to bring in our next guest. He's been here a time or two, and he always delivers, just like he does in the ring. Saturday, January 22nd, he defends his WBC Featherweight World title against Mark Magsayo at the Borgata in Atlantic City, live on Showtime. Boxing's longest reigning world champion, Mr. Gary Russell Jr. Gary, first things first, Happy New Year to you and your family. How is everyone doing?
Everybody's good to the best of their ability. It's been a real difficult year thus far. At least last year has been. Pop's been in and out the hospital. He actually got his foot amputated, so it's been a lot going on with him. And just trying to get him in the training camp, trying to stay injury free. His health isn't the best, but he's trying to make ends meet. So
how old is your father, if you don't mind me asking?
He's 62.
Okay. How is he home right now, or what's the situation right now?
Yeah, he's home.
Okay.
He's but his health is definitely isn't in the best of condition at all.
Yeah. Naturally, that's got to be your biggest concern right now. Is it hard to even concentrate on the fight you got coming up when you've got, something like that on your shoulders?
Man, of course. He's my coach, as well as my dad. We've been doing a lot of pretty much by ourselves, me and my younger brothers, because he's been in and out of the hospital. He, even with his health not being the best, he's trying to do everything in his power to at least be here as much as possible. So it's been a hassle, man. But life is like boxing. It's going to throw punches at you from all angles. You got to keep your chin down again. Yeah.
Right. Now we kind of touched on it. January 22nd, you're back in the ring against Mark Magsayo at the Borgata, Atlantic City, live on Showtime. I know that aside that obviously you are excited to get back in the ring and put your paws on someone.
Of course. I'm excited to get back and display the skill set in which that I possess. I know he's going to bring his physical as well as his mental best, and that he knows what he's up against. I never went into a fight, to be honest with you guys, man. I've never went into a fight at 100%. This is definitely going to be a difficult task, just based upon the fact that the training camp has been hectic, between my dad and everything else, but we willing to put it all on the line, man. No whining, no complaining, no bitching, no moaning. We just going to get to it.
It sounds like maybe you've been training yourself at least part of the time.
Yeah, I definitely have. I definitely have. I've been doing this for so long, though, man. I refuse to.
Right.
The thing is, between me and a lot of these other fighters, most of these guys, was a product that was already started, and then they have a coach that came in. For example, Freddie Roach, who's training Magsayo. he already had a product that was already somewhat developed and everything else, and he took that product and tries to build onto it. In my particular situation, that's never been the case. I've never had another coach other than my dad, so I refuse to attempt to even indulge into that situation, so I prefer to either train myself or wait till my dad gets stuff back healthy enough to be able to work with me. And as far as my younger brothers go, I'll take the responsibility as far as helping train them.
Wow. You got a lot on your plate. You also got a family you got to take care of. You got a lot going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What can you tell us about Magsayo? Have you watched tape on him? What do you think of what you've seen?
I watched a little footage on him. I really don't watch a lot of footage on anyone that I really compete against. I know he's pretty even-handed as far as punching ability. I feel like I said, I feel as though he's just going to bring his physical best. I never really focus on my opponents. I just try to prepare myself to the best of my ability. I know if I'm at the best of my game, there's very few people out here that's going to be able to stick with me. And that's what my focus is. I never really focus too much on my opponents.
This will be your first fight in nearly 2 years. Are you concerned about ring rust at all?
No, I'm not really worried about ring rust. I put a lot of work in the gym. I'm always training. I never really take off like that. I don't train as if I'm getting ready for an actual fight, but I'm always in the gym. I think that's going to help play a big factor. Getting good sparring in, getting some good rounds in, good work. So now I don't really look at ring rust as being an issue.
Seeing that you have had some time off, is it important that you not only win on January 22nd, but make a statement with your performance?
It's always it's always been a goal to always make a statement whenever I compete, not just because of a layoff or it could be a short duration of a layoff. Regardless of whenever I step into the ring, there's always a level of statement that I want to make to my division and even the divisions that's near or around my division.
Got it. I believe the fans want to see more of you in the ring. How many times would you like to fight this year?
I'll be competing in the first month of the year. I believe we should be able to get at least 3 bouts in this year. When we're injury free. I believe we can go, like I said, the first month in this year. We should be able to swing back around to the middle part of the year, and we should be able to end the year strong as well.
Well, I think that would be music to the ears of your fans, because obviously you've only been fighting once a year the last several years.
I've always been one of those guys that's been advocating to compete frequently. The issue has never been me. The issue has been trying to get a dancing partner in the ring. I've always been willing to compete against whoever, whenever, wherever. My issue is to get someone in the ring that's actually going to compete. At first we had the guy Ray Vargas. He's supposed to have been the mandatory challenger about a year ago or not too long ago. And nothing came from that. And next thing I know, I've seen him fighting on Canelo's undercard. So.
Yeah.
So, let's make some sense. I think the fans need to start boycotting some of these fights that they don't want to see. And the media needs to, hold themselves accountable as well, by pushing some of these guys on the front line, by actually exposing a lot of these guys.
Right. It's got to be frustrating. You can't fight yourself, right?
That's right. You can't fight yourself.
Yeah. So, in line with what we were discussing, if you had to choose your next 2 opponents, who would they be?
Oh man, if it was up to me, I want Javante. And then I ended out with Lomachenko.
That sounds like a great year for boxing fans. Now, a fight between Mr. Gary Russell Jr. and Gervonta Tank Davis is potentially one of the biggest in the sport. What are your thoughts on Tank as a fighter?
I think he's an exciting fighter. I think he's a popular fighter. As far as skill set goes, I feel as though that he's just very athletic. You know, I'll take leg over athleticism any day. I think that's what the issue is. In most cases, it's not the biggest, it's not the strongest, it's not the fastest, it's the smartest who can win. You know, so I'll definitely take intellect over athleticism any day. I think that's where I will cause such of a threat when it comes to him.
Now, did you watch his fight against Isaac Cruz? And if you did, what were your thoughts?
I honestly felt as though, contrary to what people thought, I already knew that this fight was going to be a lot tougher than what people expected it to be, because I knew he was going to be in there with a guy that was not willing to lay down, someone that was really going to actually attempt to fight him back. To be honest with you guys, within Gervonta's last 2 or 3 fights, it's no secret that he had to come from behind in the scorecard. You know, even when he fought Leo Santa Cruz, he was losing to Leo Santa Cruz in my book. And he stopped Leo in the 6th round?
Yeah.
He was down on the scorecard, if you ask me. He had to get that knockout. When it came to him even moving up in weight, not the guy right before Cruz.
Barrios.
He was losing that fight. He was behind in the scorecards. You know, it's very sad. It's very, real seldom that you see Mr. Gary Russell Jr. coming from behind in the scorecards to win a fight. I'm always leading the dance.
Do you think it was a lack of activity on Gervonta's part, or what do you attribute that to?
I'm not sure if it was a lack of activity. You know, he's been more active than I have. You know, people talk about my layoffs and I'm competing once a year and this, that, and third. Whenever I step back into the ring, I still look as sharp, just as crisp. So, I mean, I don't know.
Sorry, Cam, what were you going to say?
I was going to ask him just how does he see a fight? I mean, this is the battle of the DMV. How would you see a fight between you and Tank playing out?
Man, I beat that ass. Especially if I'm healthy. You know, especially if I'm healthy, I'm injury free. I think my hand speed, contrary to popular belief, but my punching ability as well. Ain't nobody running in here like they just gonna walk through me. They respect this pop. They respect this shit that I'm bringing, this heat that I'm sending. I think my hand speed, my boxing ability, my punching IQ, my tenacity in the ring, and just my boxing IQ overall, I feel that would make all the difference in the world.
Let's hope we see it. You mentioned Lomachenko. I mean, do you think just in terms of the opportunity to avenge what happened earlier in your career, would that be your motivating factor in that fight?
Of course, that's my motivating factor in the fight. Don't nobody need to see that shit. We can be on some Rocky and Apollo Creed type shit for all I care. That's just something that I want. That's the fight that I would want, that I would love to have. I know that when we competed, I was not 100%. I wasn't even 50%. If you ask me, I was tired in the first round. You know, I came back to the corner in the first round. I was completely tired. I had to lose 5 pounds because our scale was off. And a lot of people didn't know that. You know, we ain't make no excuses, no nothing. We just continued to fight. You know, I'm one of them type of people, you're going to have to take me out on my shield. You know, but it was a knockdown in the fight. I definitely knocked him down. That was not called.
That's right.
You know, I knocked him down without me having the energy that I would normally have. I didn't have the pop that I would have, or even the hand speed that I really wanted to have. And to be honest with you, you can't take anything from what Lomachenko did in the amateurs, but no one knew who Lomachenko was until he fought Mr. Gary Russell Jr. Let's keep this shit factual. He lost to Salido. They try to make it seem like he didn't even have a loss. Like, let's not do this. You know, so him competing against me is a part of what actually made Lomachenko who Lomachenko is today. You know, so that's something that I would want to have for myself. I want that in the books just for me. They don't have to be televised. They don't got to be. I just personally want to do
it. Like Ken said, it'd be a hell of a year if you can get both of those guys into the ring.
Seriously.
Chris Colbert is another one who's discussed fighting you. What are your thoughts on Colbert?
I think he's an exciting fighter. I think he fought one of my fellow foes with King Tug. King Tug fought him on a 2 weeks notice and gave Chris Colbert everything that he wanted. And I made the shit look easy when I fought King Tug. You know, that matters. You got to take that into consideration.
Yeah. That's part of what makes it interesting. Now, you've been a featherweight your entire 13-year career, which is pretty remarkable, actually. Not many guys stay at one weight for that long. You mentioned the possibility of moving up to 130. Could that happen? And if so, what would it take to make you do that?
For another title to be on the line. No one is really in a rush to compete against me to get this title from me. You know, everyone that I've been competing against is the next best guy to the champion. Half of these guys, when they were in the division and had the opportunity to compete against me, you have Shakur Stevenson, you had Lee Selby, you had, what's the other guy, commentator name? Oh, shit. I think his name. Oh, man, Abner Maris.
Yeah.
Abner Maris. Leo Santa Cruz. You know, all of these guys, you know, they had an opportunity to unify the division or attempt to make a unification match. None of this, it never took place. These guys aren't in a rush to step in the ring with me. So it doesn't make sense for me to move up in weight, vacate my title, just to stand in line and fight a contender. That doesn't make sense to me.
Sure.
Doesn't make sense. So if you want me to move up in weight, which I don't mind fluctuating, let's just make sure that when I move up in weight and I challenge whoever I'm challenging, it's the champion. Let's just make it make sense. That's all.
Well, switching gears for a second, your brothers Gary Antonio Russell and Gary Antoine Russell are both closing in on world titles. We'll start with Gary Antonio. What's the latest with him? What's going on with him right now?
Oh, man. Well, he honestly, he's still actually going through a lot of stuff with the loss of our younger brother, Gary Russell, man. If you've seen his last fight, he competed right after my brother had passed. And he held it together the entire time, all the way up until after the bout was over and he just broke down in the corner. I think they're using that as fuel, and I think he's ready. He's ready to make that next step. He didn't like his last performance, you know, but ugly is a saying in the sport of boxing, an ugly win is better than a pretty loss. We'll take that into it, you know, and that's where he's at. You know, he's ready to continue to move forward in his career and continue his streak. As far as Gary Antoine goes, he's ready. I think he's a force to anyone at that 140 division. Anybody that's in there, he's ready for all of the champions right now. If you was to ask me, he just beat the guy that Adrian Broner, you know, that a lot of people thought beat Adrian Broner, you know, and he just ran through this guy, no problems. He's going to be a force in that weight division. He's supposed to be competing. They were trying to get him to compete again in February.
It's good to hear. Yeah, we can't wait to see him back in the ring, and obviously we can't wait to see you back in the ring. Gary, in closing, anything that you want to tell your fans?
Oh man, continue to support. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the love. Energy is very much so transferable. So if you're a true fan of mine, and when you see me in the ring and I'm competing, and it looks like I might need a little help or a little assistance, throw some punches in the air. Throw some punches in the air. Just don't knock over the TV. Just throw some punches in the air, because energy is definitely transferable. and it will get used. It will not be in vain.
Gary, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We appreciate you doing that. Wish you all the best on January 22nd, Atlantic City, Showtime, and look forward to having you back on again soon.
Man, thank you guys, man. Thank you for having me, and it's always a pleasure.
Saturday, February 5th. Superstar Keith Thurman is back.
Here comes Thurman.
And he's going toe-to-toe with former champion Mario Barrios. This will fly.
Putting it all on the line. What a fight!
Then get ready for the return of Leo Santa Cruz
The time has come.
as he faces Keenan Carbajal. It will be a night to remember. Live on pay-per-view. Buy now on the Fox Sports app and watch on any screen you want.
That'll do it for this week's podcast. We want to thank Gary Russell Jr. and Carlos Castro for dropping by. And of course, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to check us out next week for more boxing talk, more interviews right here on the PBC Podcast.